I've been doing marketing pretty much my whole working life in some way, shape, or form. Worked at the radio network, went out doing marketing consulting, founded an agency. I saw that kind of real niche in the market of just being, an online ads agency, rather than kind of that full service model. And that's when I started Unbound. Unbound will be 10 next year. Pretty exciting times. We've got clients that are sort of local businesses, local Sparkies, local service-based businesses, that sort of thing, right up through to working with some multinationals or large national organizations. Currently, we're sitting at, I think it's a nine on our team. We're probably looking at recruiting beginning of the year.
Hey Quentin, great to have you on the podcast. Thanks for taking the time. I'm super excited to talk about some of the stuff you've been doing with Unbound. But to introduce you, you are Quentin Weber, and you are the founder of Unbound. And that is a digital marketing agency in New Zealand, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Based in Hamilton.
Cool. And just to give you the floor for a minute, why don't you introduce people and tell us why or how that came to be? Just give us a 30 to 60 seconds kind of presentation or introduction to you, and then we'll jump into the pod.
Yeah, so I've been doing marketing pretty much my whole working life in some way, shape, or form. Worked at the radio network, if people remember what that is, for 5 years back in the day, and then went out doing marketing consulting. Founded an agency with someone I knew that was kind of doing website design and development stuff, and then he had a change in circumstance, moved back down to Christchurch to be closer to family. And that's when I started Unbound. So that was 9.5 years ago. So
Wow.
we'll be 10. Unbound will be 10 next year. So yeah, pretty exciting times.
Awesome. And how big's your team now?
We're sitting at, I think it's a nine on our team. We're probably looking at recruiting beginning of the year. So.
Oh, cool. Awesome. And what's the sort of size of business that you guys typically work with, or is there a spectrum?
It's quite a spectrum, actually. Like we sort of haven't gone out of our way to find a particular size business. Often it's based around, people's goals about wanting to grow in a certain way. But we've got clients that are sort of local businesses, local Sparkies, local service-based businesses, that sort of thing, right up through to working with some multinationals, or large national organizations.
Awesome. That's really cool. So you started Unbound 9.5 years ago, and you started an agency. Previous to that, I guess was there a little bit of crossover in the kind of work you guys did? And would you say that was the start of your journey? Was that previous agency?
Yeah, so I left a role and I kind of, was trying to figure out what to do with the next stage of my life, and got a really great opportunity working, doing marketing consulting for Waikato businesses, and that kind of evolved into doing a lot more digital marketing stuff. Running Google Ads campaigns, helping people with their websites,
Yep.
doing a bit of SEO, and that's kind of really where I cut my teeth in the sort of the digital game. And then ran into my former business partner Adam, who was like, "Hey, I'm building websites for clients on the side. Like, let's kind of team up, and we can do some amazing things together." And so we did that for a good few years, working alongside each other. So that was probably more of a full service agency. We were kind of, if people came to us that needed help with their digital website, whatever it might be, we kind of did that. And then he went through some sort of personal stuff at the time, and so ended up moving back down to Christchurch to be closer to family. And that's when we kind of made the decision of like, is this kind of going to work, with both of us working with the agency together? And we kind of said no. So I kind of started Unbound at that point, and I kind of made the call of like, what I want Unbound to be. And I saw that kind of real niche in the market of just being, an online ads agency, rather than kind of that full service model. Really sort of focus in and specialize in doing that for our clients. Because again, it was just me at the time, just doing one man band. So I know I couldn't be everything and anything to our clients. So just really focusing on primarily Google ads, a little bit of Facebook ads, a little bit of SEO that went alongside it,
Yep.
and quite a heavy focus in terms of analytics, making sure we're measuring that data and tracking what's working for clients as effectively as possible.
Nice. And I guess before you got into doing the agency work, was it something that you always wanted to do in terms of creating your own business? Yeah.
Not really. Like I kind of never really set out. My dad owned his business since I was born, effectively. So it's kind of, I guess, always been in the family. Owning a business. Seeing what my dad sort of did, but it was never kind of the plan of right. I'm going to leave school and
Yeah.
do a few years working for somewhere and then go out and start my business. It was sort of very much a case of falling into it, kind of
Yeah.
just having that sort of gap in it and going, what do I want to do with my life? And well, actually, I want to try and give something a go myself, and grow, grow sort of clients.
Yeah, that's really cool. Were you the sort of person, or did you ever have some sense of kind of catalyst in your life when you started thinking more about kind of the future and building wealth and kind of getting creating a better life for yourself? Was there ever a moment that you
I,
had that, or was it
I
kind of more
guess,
organically and about the
yeah,
work?
probably more organically and about the work. Like I've never been sort of like, I want to like, earn millions of dollars. And I mean, I know that sort of sounds stupid. Like a lot of people get into business and they think about how much money they can make by being a business owner and all the rest. But I think for me, it's often always been about the clients. It's always been about helping other businesses to succeed. Even when I was
Mm-hmm.
at the radio network, NZME nowadays, it was always like, I'm trying to help clients with their marketing, trying to help
Yep.
clients grow their business by doing marketing right. How can we reach the right people, and have the right messages in that kind of marketing messaging. So, and that kind of carried through when I was doing the marketing consulting, the digital consulting. It's all about kind of helping clients succeed with what they're doing. And founding my previous agency in Unbound, it's been very much a case of how can I help clients do the best,
Mm-hmm.
that they can do. Because there are a lot of I guess digital marketing. There's a lot of snakes out there. There's a lot of people that want to take advantage of businesses. A lot of black boxes, all that stuff. And so I've always been from that point of view of like sharing knowledge. I've done lots of workshops, lots of webinars. Trying to help people understand how SEO, online ads, actually work, and coming at
Mm-hmm.
it from, I guess, a very sort of genuine place to help businesses grow their business. And by doing that,
Mm-hmm.
we've grown our business as well.
Yeah. And what is your channel for finding your clients? Like, what do you do? What are some of the strategies you guys have implemented to grow your business? And are you at a point now where you are looking to build, like, get more clients, or are you also in a stage where you're looking to scale with your clients? Like, how does that kind of cycle work in this sort of business?
Yeah, so I guess we get a lot of business through referrals. Good work begets good work.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people will refer us. We've got a pretty good name, around the place. If people have heard of Unbound, they're like, hey, we know you guys do good work, or hey, I've heard you work with X client, and they've sort of had a good experience. But we also practice what we preach. So we're obviously trying to focus on the digital channels, growing
Right.
awareness of what we do. So running, LinkedIn, YouTube ads, search ads, trying other channels to see how well they go with what we're doing. So oftentimes, experimenting with some of the new things on our own brand before we kind of release them to
Right.
to sort of
Yep.
clients, or how will this channel be effective, in this context, before we kind of introduce it to a client. But yeah, I mean, we're always kind of looking at growing, but we are sort of pretty selective with the clients that we do work with.
Yep.
Like I sort of said earlier, it's about having clients that have the right attitude to grow their business. And
Mm.
so we've got a bit of a vetting process that we talk to clients about before we kind of get too deep in the weeds,
Yep.
with what they're doing. So, and that's one of the key things around, having a clear process, in your business to sort of find the right clients for you. Because I mean, we could take on a lot more work, than we've currently got. But it might not be the right type of work. And in the long run, it might cause us more stress and more heartache than than what we're sort of doing. So yeah.
That's cool. And how have you found building a team? Like you started on your own, but now you've got almost 10 employees. You might have 12 by next year. What are the kind of thoughts around building a team from a one-man band upwards? How did you feel about that? How have you managed it? What have been some of the challenges?
I guess it was always that kind of gamble. Like when I first kind of went to go hire someone, I'm sort of like felt like I was chasing my tail in the business, kind of wearing lots of different hats. I'm out there sort of selling. I'm doing the work. Back office. I'm doing the accounts. And so it was kind of at the point of like, probably couldn't like afford to hire someone, but probably couldn't afford not to hire someone.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that's made that decision of like, right, I'm going to bring someone on board. And luckily, it was a guy, Dan, who was in our co-working space at the time that was kind of looking for his next opportunity.
Right.
And so it all kind of fell together quite nicely where, he jumped on board. He was kind of closing up a project he was working on. He jumped on board, and the rest, as they say, is history. And then I also like hired like probably 2-3 months after we hired him, I hired our third person to come on board, because it was like once you sort of got that momentum up and you're sort of filling up the second person, you can quite clearly see you can fill up that third person. So, but bit of a
Yeah.
bit of a dip in kind of earnings getting to that point, but knowing that by bringing on that second person, that third person, you're on your way to growth, that you can actually start, even though I might not have been earning, what I could have earned over that
Yeah.
sort of 3-6 month period. It was obviously, we've grown significantly since just me on my own
Yeah.
to now we've got sort of 10 people in the
Nice.
office.
Cool. And as a business owner, when you start off, you're obviously making sacrifices, typically from a immediate salary perspective. Um, how have you kind of thought about, now that you're kind of almost a decade into this, do you often think about, okay, how do I now sustainably kind of improve my position and kind of get to a life that I want to live? And I mean, you're probably already in some cases there, right? But in the early days, obviously, or that teething ground, maybe after a couple of years where it's still very early, still very difficult. But obviously, life moves on, and we need to, also protect ourselves in a sense, or grow our own future so that we can live well. So, is that something you thought about, and is that something you had to design kind of in your household and kind of set expectations there? What were the kind of what's the process there? Do you think much about that? Yeah.
I guess a little bit. I mean, I guess there's some things that we've kind of done, or financial objectives that we've wanted to achieve, and so we're kind of purposefully designing the business around that. So overseas travel, or buying a new house, or those
Yeah.
sorts of things. And a lot of the time those things wouldn't have happened if we hadn't been sort of running a business,
Right. Yeah.
having
Totally.
ourselves. So a couple of years ago we decided to buy a new house. And I mean, it's always the thing, is like always shitty timing. You never pick it, but we've kind of got probably our dream home
Right.
now. So, and I guess if we hadn't have owned the business, or we hadn't have been able to say like, hey, we've got a bit of capital sitting there that we can just sort of
Draw.
use,
Yeah.
draw onto, putting the deposit down and whatnot, then we wouldn't have been able to get that house, and we wouldn't be where we kind of are at the moment. And we sort of wake up every day where we are and think, it's amazing that we live here, and and the life that we've got. So if we'd been on a salary, we probably would have gone, oh no, we can't achieve that, or that's just
Right.
outside the realm of possibility. So as much as you kind of put in that extra work and the hours and the the sometimes that stress that comes with owning a business.
Yeah.
There are those other sides where, you do have the freedom and those opportunities, which if you were just working for someone, you just wouldn't have. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. And like, you know, what would you say, what would you say that, like, I guess, newer clients of yours, clients that are just getting started, or clients that are kind of really delving into maybe new channels of growth that they're not that familiar with, how's the best way they can become familiar with what could work for their business without, I guess, taking what seems to be lots of risk by taking on a third party? Like, how should an entrepreneur or a small business that's looking to get into new digital channels, how should they think about upskilling themselves and learning about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've always believed in strong, marketing fundamentals. Like, I mean, digital is it's just additional channels. Like, as I said, I worked at in radio for 5 years. And before that was kind of the TV was big, and then newspaper was big, and as much as like digital, it's a whole bunch of new channels or new platforms that people can use. Still going back to those marketing fundamentals, and we still see a lot of businesses that I guess aren't thinking about those marketing fundamentals before they're thinking about doing marketing. So I'm talking
Mm,
about like understanding, who their customer is, having a deep understanding and a real sort of knowledge of like what their motivations are when they're actually, coming to buy their product or service. Having a clear understanding of what their positioning and their messaging is, why are they different in the market, and how are they sort of communicating that to the customer. So those are the two of the fundamentals, and then from there we can kind of roll out in terms of, well, once we know who our customers are, like, well, what channels are appropriate for these customers, because
hmm
if you're putting ads on Facebook and your customers just aren't there, then Facebook as a channel is never going to work, no matter how good your messaging
Right.
is.
Yep.
And obviously making sure that you're measuring everything effectively, and that's one of the great things about digital. It's very measurable in terms of
Yep.
what's going on. But if you are using some channels that I guess aren't as measurable as, say, measuring the clicks and the conversions, how
Mm.
are you effectively measuring that channel? So I mean, I've just gone through kind of, but that's kind of our four M's. So
Yeah.
if you kind of look at your four M's of marketing, what's your message, who's your market, what media are you using, and how you're measuring it. And that's
hmm
often the things that we're sort of talking to clients about before they are even coming on board, to trying to get them
hmm
to have an understanding of what it is that will make their marketing work. Because yeah, we can run some ads, we can chuck some ads up, but if you're not sort of really thinking about those things before you do it, that's not really
Yep.
going to be effective, and you're probably going to be disappointed with the results.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a really great insight. What are your thoughts on like more organic content these days and how that fits into the world of advertising and digital? Maybe the less obvious measurable from a measurable perspective on ROI channels, like your podcast, for example. We're doing a podcast right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I mean, all channels again can be effective. I guess I'm fairly agnostic with that. And I mean, there was a great study that Tracksuit and TikTok brought out a few weeks ago, which looked at brand building and how that affects performance. Because I guess there's always that debate around like, should I be doing performance or should I be doing brand? A lot of businesses, they just want to put money into performance. I just want to run shopping ads, or want to run search
Right.
ads. I want to get results. But oftentimes you need to be looking at spending some monies, on investing in your brand. And
Right.
that, when I say kind of money, it's like not necessarily ad spend. It could be like,
Yes.
hey, I'm going to hire someone to do content, or like, hey, we're going to get an agency to record content. We're going to get an agency to do podcasts. We're going to get an agency to do, whatever it might be, or we're going to have someone in house to do something
Mm.
that's going to be generating content. Like I've always written a lot of blog posts. Um, I've got a PR agency on retainer, and they're
Yeah.
often pitching pitching articles, or I've featured on Radio New Zealand. I've been on 7 Sharp. So again, this is all kind of content that we're sort of putting out to the market to sort of position ourselves as the specialists in our field. And the same for clients. Like if they do have that sort of need, or it is probably a good idea to be thinking about, like, what can I be doing in terms of organic content, as well as kind of paid content to increase awareness of my brand.
Yeah. So how does one come up with a great message for their business?
Yeah, $1 million question, I guess. It can be hard. And I'll kind of steal something that I've kind of found. It's not something that I've come up with. I'll just put it out there because it's a really great idea. But I think most businesses, if they kind of look at themselves as having a 3D positioning, where they need to be looking at something that's different, that's desirable to their customers, and that's differentiated. Defensible.
Okay.
So yeah. So different,
okay,
desirable, defensible.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah. So if you kind of think about that, and it might not necessarily like one thing, and that's often people think, to create a USP or a value proposition, or it needs to be one thing. I'm the cheapest, I'm the fastest, but sometimes it can be a number of things, that kind of come together to build their brand.
Yeah.
And that's for us, it's for Unbound. It's not kind of one thing that sort of defines us. It's probably a number of different things. The way we operate with our our positioning and our kind of values, and the people that we've got within the business.
Cool. Awesome. And if someone was going out to start a business on their own tomorrow, and it may be a digital marketing agency, it may be something very like that.
Oh, don't do it. No jokes.
It may not be a digital marketing agency, but there may be similarities around the kind of how you get clients, how you retain clients. What would be the first thing you do? And maybe there's actually something you need to do before you even start. And so maybe you can choose. What's the first thing you would do, or what's the first thing you would do to prepare? And is there a way to make it easier for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think, I definitely think about, who your market is, especially if you're starting out, maybe if you are just a one-man band, so things like, who is your market? And I guess what's your, service or product offering? Because again, you might not be able to be everything to everyone. How are you going to position yourself, within that market? And the other thing that I'd be thinking about is also just around, your kind of process, delivering that to market. Because, if you're kind of just going, kind of ad hoc, you'll probably find, that maybe you don't have the process in place to kind of deliver, what you're sort of promising.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the other things, I think most people, when they're starting out a business, probably undervalue themselves. Like I was talking to a guy the other day that's been in an internal role in an organization for quite a while, and he's just kind of started out, doing his own business, and he seems busy enough, and kind of got talking to him about it, and I think it's one of those things of like, he's probably not pricing himself to enough. He's probably going to find he's going to be working, all hours, and then at the end of the year go, I haven't made any money. And I think oftentimes, businesses kind of get into the situation where they'll kind of start a business, and I know I was like this. I mean, I don't sort of like look at me and think, I was completely different. And, I started out, this is all the things that I've kind of learned over time. But, you'll start out and you'll think, I'm going to put myself out there at $80 an hour because, I used to be, getting $50 an hour at my previous job. And so that's going to make me a lot more money. So you'll go out and do that, and then you'll sort of find, well, actually, I'm not making any money at $80 an hour. What do I need? What do I need to be, charging out at to actually be earning decent money. And so pricing is it's and it's one of those things. It's always something that we're looking at, to make sure that we're, as an agency, we're delivering, enough value internally to. But yeah, so if you're starting out, be thinking, well, how much do I really need to be charging out to my clients? But also having a good process. And part of that process is especially if you're starting an agency or starting a service-based business, is tracking your time.
Yes.
And that's something, even when I was by myself, and you're kind of like, why would you track your time when it's just yourself? And, you kind of like, every output is just you, but it's important to have that, have that kind of that base of like, well, I spent this much time on this client. What did I actually achieve? What did I bring in from that client? And you'll quickly find there'll be, potential clients that might be taking advantage of you, and so that you can actually see the numbers. And again, it's about measuring, internally what is working, what's not working, to grow the business. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, that is.
But I mean, good luck to. I mean, if anyone is out there looking at starting an agency, good luck. It's a pretty rewarding place, but it can be quite challenging, especially in those early days, to find your feet. But again, starting any business, it is a challenging kind of endeavor. But again, like we sort of talked about, it's hugely, rewarding when you kind of get down the path a little bit.
Totally. And then I guess 5 years from now, what does success look like for Unbound?
Yeah, so we've kind of got a bit of a plan in the works. There's probably a little bit more growth in terms of the team size. We're not gonna grow huge. We're not sort of planning on being 100 person agency or anything like that. We're sort of looking at probably growing a little bit more than we've kind of got now. We're looking at developing out some new kind of services, sort of starting from kind of next year, which is pretty exciting. Like this year, we hired a creative specialist, which sort of really has been helping with developing some of our clients, visual, video kind of side of things. So that's been really great, sort of developing up some services to our clients with Marco, which complements a lot of the stuff that we've been doing with the online advertising side. So probably more into the creative services side of things to help our clients be successful in that online ad space.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. I think that you have given me some interesting things to think about our business, and I'm sure others will also feel the same way. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And cool. They can find you at unbound.nz. Is that right? Anyone that wants to check you guys out?
Yeah, unbound.nz. They'll find us. So that's our kind of newish website. We launched that this year, kind of trying to, again, realign our brand to sort of communicate more about who we are and what we're doing. So come and check it out. Hit me up. I'm always happy for a chat. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. Worries. Thanks for your time.
Cheers. Thanks, mate. Bye.
Cool. Bye.